You are not ready for what AI is going to do to your job, to your life in the next few years. It's actually becoming a little scary. I do this all day. I read the books, I listen to the podcasts, I follow the main individuals actively participating with these new tools. It's getting scary because now you're actually kind of seeing people say, like, hey, within the next few years, if you don't kind of progress now, like if you don't make money now, you're not going to move anywhere. And the reason behind that is because I don't know if you just heard Elon Musk, but he just spoke at the Economic Forum, and he plans to have more robots, or he believes that there's going to be more robots than there are humans. And so you're going to get to the point where you're trying to make money. Like, making money is hard enough, right? You have to beat other humans, right? You have to compete at very high levels. You have to go through tons of stress. It's not easy stuff. You are going to have a flood of robots that work 24/7, that their output is 1,000 times more than you. All right. I've done videos about this before, but Claude Opus 4.5, it's scary how good it is. You don't even have to be a coder. You can just say, build me this thing, and suddenly it's going to put together some code for you, and you can literally ship it that night. Like, you're seeing, again, just people talk with this kind of verbiage, because really, like, we haven't seen this ever before. Like, I know a lot of people were scared about the internet, right? They say they thought the internet would kind of shut things off. They thought like there's a new paradigm, whatever the case may be. But this, and I know it sounds very cliche, but this is truly different, right? This is something we haven't witnessed before. So for instance, like, what happens to your life when the meaning of work declines, when there is no meaning of work, when you don't actually have to work, right? Imagine you're working maybe a 9 to 5, you're working maybe a job you don't like, or maybe you love what you do. That's awesome. But majority of people, if you go through the stats, don't like what they do. So imagine you didn't have to wake up and go to your job. Sure, that's great for maybe a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months. But at some point you get fed up. You get fed up with being on the beach for so long. You want to go back home. In this case, what happens when you start questioning life, your purpose, what you're trying to do? Because throughout human history, we have been biologically programmed to keep moving forward, to keep progressing, to make sure we don't die, right? And that's going to stop. That's going to shut off like this. And we're not ready for it. None of us are. And it like, the more you think of it, obviously ignorance is bliss. So you're like, sweet, right? I don't have to work anymore. Money is not going to have value. Currency is going to be completely different. It's probably going to be energy. That's kind of the main bottleneck right now with AI. It's energy, but that's even going to be solved. And like they say, once you solve AI science, like, AI science leads to other sciences. So you're not going to die, because now we have longevity pills. We have everything coming out because now the AI is going to help with that. We can go to space. We can go to Mars. You're not going to have to work because money's not going to be required, because the things you are going to do and the things the robots are going to do for you are so cheap. Like, it's going to be, right? Knowledge in robots are going to work for like pennies on the dollar. And this is happening right now. Elon predicts his robots, okay, will be available to the public by late next year, early 2027. And it is absolutely mind-blowing what this technology will do. And it even scares me. Like, you wake up at 3 or 4 a.m. and you're like, all right, you're trying to pull yourself together, because you're like, okay, I need to make it now, right? And again, maybe it is a bit of fear-mongering. That's not what I'm trying to do. But if you kind of look at what some people are saying, especially like the thought leaders in all, like, in these domains, right? You have Dario Amodei, basically the co-founder of Anthropic, saying there's not going to be coders, right, in the next kind of 6 to 8 months. And he says a lot of people on his team are not even coding. They're more, again, of the manager of the agent doing the code. And so a lot of us, like even myself included, it's like, you wake up thinking how you're going to make more money. You go to bed thinking how you're going to make more money. Like, a lot of life revolves around money because it's a necessity, right? But what happens when you're so blinded by trying to make so much money and that goes away, and then you realize you have maybe little hobbies, or maybe you're just not curious in general and you're like, okay, what do I do with all my time? Like I think the stats are, when you retire and you really don't do much, like it's really not good for your health, right? They see a tremendous decline with people that retire and they don't really pick up anything, right? Basically signaling to your body like, yeah, I'm kind of done, right? I guess that's the notion of retiring. So don't retire. But what happens when you don't need to work? What happens when money does not matter, right? The issue is people are trying to still make dollars while this is all taking place. Once it takes place, it's like, okay, we're here now. All the robots are doing everything. That's fine. I can kind of take my foot off the gas pedal. But before you get to that destination, it's going to be very turbulent, right? I've had some airplane rides that have definitely sucked just because it's very turbulent. This ride we are on is extremely turbulent. Okay, yes, obviously AI will produce tons of jobs. It will. However, you need to upskill a lot of those individuals, because either they're just going to get fired because they're kind of lower on the totem pole, and then we're going to need training for that. That's going to cost money, and all these things, right? And again, yes, AI can probably teach those individuals, but then AI is just going to do it themselves. So you kind of think like, where does this all go? What are some new skills to learn? Pattern recognition is absolutely gigantic right now, because just you have the ability to kind of just hop over to different domains very quickly because you're using like superpowers, right? So you have like Claude Opus 4.5 is a superpower. It is a superpower. Like, you can do things that just the average individual can't, just with this tool kind of on your desktop, right? So what happens when AI can do that all? What happens when everyone's just using this tool, building out things? What happens when there's just millions of bots doing the same thing? Like, the utility just goes to zero, right? And if robots can do it for like $0, for basically $1, let's say, they're not going to hire us, right? They're just going to get AI to do it because they can do it better, faster, cheaper. So, not to fearmonger, but things are going to get weird, to say the least. And again, talking about the turbulence, it's of course going to create jobs. It's going to take away a lot of jobs. And if you're kind of in that transition period, like, it might be a little tough. You hear a lot of that rhetoric where it's like, it's now or never. And kind of the tsunami that's coming we've never seen something like this before. So again, pattern recognition is massive. Again, taking the time to actually start learning these tools so that maybe you can build something, maybe that you can get ahead of that tsunami. Maybe you can see a boat and kind of grab onto that boat while it drives away before getting hit by the tsunami. Be proactive, not reactive, like I've always said. And most importantly, I think the most important message as we kind of get to that tsunami is that don't forget what makes you human, right? Because again, when you don't need to work, when you don't need to make money, what are you going to do? It's going to be hanging out with friends. It's going to be going to live events. It's going to be telling stories and hanging out with family, because that's super important. Right? It's going to be basically back, like, it's all going to go full circle where you're like, we're basically being back to like caveman days where it's like just us hanging out. Let's go, I don't know, for a walk or run, whatever. But don't lose what makes you human, right? Still pick up the guitar, still pick up an instrument, still pick up the book because you like to read or you like to do those hobbies. That's super important, because I'm telling you, and maybe start adapting to more hobbies right now, because you're gonna get to a point where you're questioning, what do I do now? Because AI is basically doing my entire job for me. Things are gonna get weird, but we'll navigate it together, and I'll see you later.